North Carolina Central is going to be picked up and knocked for by Tim Daniel. Picked up now by C.J. Moore. C.J. Moore, no one even.
This is Eagle Talk on the NCCU Sports Network. Here's your host, Chris Hooks.
Hello, Eagle fans. Welcome to another edition of Eagle Talk. I'm Chris Hooks, the play-by-play voice of the NCCU Sports Network. Jam-packed show for you here today. We'll talk with the new head volleyball coach here at North Carolina Central, Nicki Holmes, and we'll also hear from the head coach of the Eagles football program, Jerry Mack, as football practice is underway. Volleyball practice gets underway on August the 6th. Their first match is Friday, August 29th, just a day before the football team heads out to Greenville to take on the Pirates of East Carolina. So let's get into it. Another jam-packed edition of the program. We'll bring on the head volleyball coach here at North Carolina Central, Nicki Holmes. Coach, you've been ducking me for months. I'm kidding. All kidding aside, though, welcome to North Carolina Central. And just first of all, since you've been hired, just talk about the process and what you've been going through.
Thanks for having me on the show. Sorry about the ducking. It's been great. I think that part of the reason I actually came out to North Carolina Central was the fact that the staff is so welcoming and the support has been overwhelming, not just from athletics, but just in general from all of campus. So it's been a great move, but we're ready to get the ball rolling in the gym.
You know, it's been interesting with our athletic director, Dr. Ingrid Wick-McCree, doing so well here, renowned for her coaching job here. You know you always have a third assistant in her, but I know she also gives you your space. But you got a great staff with you, and I know you got to be excited to be here and get the season rolling.
Yeah, it's really unusual that a new coach can come in and have a staff already in place that understands the processes and really that you can trust and that has loyalty to you already. And so Darlene and Laurel has been wonderful, one with the onboarding process, but two, just a little bit of the changing in terms of our training methods and how we're going to approach the season this year. It's going to be great.
Talk about the buy-in that you've had with your young ladies. It seems like that the young ladies are super, super excited. They have talked great about you. It looks like they're excited to get this season going.
They are, and that's a huge component of the fall. We missed the spring. I was hired on and had a few practices at the end, and really we didn't talk anything more than talk about what they wanted to achieve and their goals and how do we get there, and really try to put it as black and white as we can on paper. They're really wanting to make a change in this season, and they want to come out really strong, not only just with results, but really the process of volleyball and how to learn how to play.
Well, that's interesting for you. Let's get a little background on you first of all. Tell us a little bit about yourself so the Eagle fans will get to know you a little bit.
Sure. I grew up in Oakland, California, East Oakland for people that understand the Oakland, the Bay Area scene. Went to college in Colorado Springs at the Air Force Academy, and I served about 7 years in the Air Force, various jobs. I was an officer in the Air Force, and really I moved on and moved out to Tennessee to work in corporate America, kind of the corporate dream. But, my first passion was the sport and volleyball, and so I was really working a job to coach and be a part of the sport and give back to the sport. So while spending all my leave and my vacation time working with USA Volleyball and things, I just made a decision, me and the wife, to really focus on collegiate volleyball. So we moved down to Florida, and I started my collegiate coaching career down there, first at Stetson University, and then most recently at Central Florida as the assistant down there.
Again, when you got the notice or the word that this job was open, you talked about family. What were some other things that kind of attracted you to this position?
Sure. I think one, just talking to Dr. Wicker-McCree, as anybody would know if you're an Eagle fan, talking with our athletic director, that she's very passionate, not just about the sport, but about the student athlete. And that in and of itself just attracted me completely to the job. And the second part of that is that we're in a great position to be really successful. The processes aren't necessarily broken. The kids are not broken. They're very talented. And anybody that come in here would see that. And so it's a wonderful position for us to be in, to where we could take these kids to the next level.
Talk about some of the young women that you have at your, disposal here this year. You got a lot returning. You got some talent. Let's talk about Ashley McCarthy and the like. I think you've got some good pieces that can certainly compete with the top of the MEAC.
Sure. Ashley McCartney, I think, has become a wonderful addition to the roster over the last few years, and she's shown that she can handle the pressure of, one, being an all-around player, which was really not asked of her in the beginning. But as I watch film and talk to coaches around the league, they really respect her. And so we expect her to be become a big component of our offense next year. Also bringing back a wealth of experience on the outsides. Both our outsides returning were starters last year in Kelsey and Daisha. And, that experience is really worthwhile. They bring on something that they bring on something into the MEAC that will help them be successful. We're going to lean on them pretty heavily in this season.
Looking at the recruits you brought in here in the preseason, it seems like you look at the numbers, you look at the website story that Andrea wrote. There's a lot of talent that you brought in, but again, you weren't pressured to bring in people to come in and start immediately. So that's got to be a comfort for them and you. No pressure, just bring them in, let them get a part of it, and see what happens.
A lot of people would assume that me coming in April, with only about a month left in the recruiting cycle for that year, that I was just grabbing kids. Actually, a lot of all 5 kids are players that we believe can immediately impact the team. Some kids will see the starting lineup right away. Some kids will see kind of a extended reserve role. But we didn't settle. It was actually these kids are very talented, and we believe that they can come in and just affect change immediately.
Before we were talking here on Eagle Talk, you're telling me that you're going to play a little bit of a high-tempo volleyball. Can I explain that for people that may not know about the sport as well as some?
Sure. Volleyball is really built into phases, and so we look at the phases as rotations. So there's 6 mini games as we play it. Within those mini games, we always receive the ball from the opponent. We get to do something with it. That style or speed of the tempo really dictates our win and loss record. One, we're going to really focus on our serve receive. If we get it down to a certain number, it's true within statistics of Division I that you'll win 2/3 of your games if you get it down to the errors down to an appropriate level. So we're really going to strive to get to that standard. From there, we believe once we get the ball back, we can run what we call an up-tempo offense, where we can get the ball and send it with location and accuracy to any of our hitters, and they have the freedom to hit when they see daylight and go after the ball and have the freedom to create points for us. That up-tempo, I think, will do us well in the MEAC.
You start with the NCCU volleyball tournament coming up on Friday, August 29th against Campbell, and then on Saturday, August 30th with 2 matches against Wofford and Valparaiso. Looking over your whole schedule, it looks like a little bit of a challenge, but it's certainly one with this talent, you certainly can find yourself with some victories.
And we're looking for that, and we're really focused on the process. So we have our preseason scheduled so that we can test our processes against a variety of different teams. End of the day, we're preparing for conference, and so we take these non-conference games really seriously. And in fact, we incorporate it as part of our training. It's not just a game. Playing a team such as Wofford and Valparaiso and Campbell right away is going to challenge us, especially if we can institute our up-tempo offense that quickly. As we get down through the schedule, even ending in Arizona, playing some top 25 teams, we get to see what that up-tempo looks like at that level. And it gives us gives our players a good broad sense of their accomplishments up to date.
Is that what fans should look out for, us to play some of the bigger schools in the volleyball world, so to speak?
Yeah, and I think if I'm going to preach to these student athletes standards, and I'm going to say, look, if we can get to these numbers and we can get to these speeds, we will win. They need to see how successful it is. And, these numbers just doesn't come from just our half of the conference or our conference. This is all 335 schools in Division I. We look at all these schools and say, up-tempo works. These stats and these standards work, and we'll get to experience that. And the only way you do that is go play some of the bigger schools, as you say, and challenge them. One of the things we'll be really focused on as well as our serve and up-tempoing our serve, and that's a really great equalizer. The way volleyball works, if we can up-tempo our serve, everything becomes a level playing field, and so we're hoping to get to that level.
Chris Hooks, play-by-play voice of the NCCU Sports Network, joined by the head volleyball coach, Nicki Holmes. They start practice on August 6th. Coach, let's get off the court for a second. Maybe talk about you a little bit. What's something that a lot of people may not know about you that you would like to talk about?
Sure. When I have a great supportive wife, and I think some people do know this, but my wife actually is a coach's daughter, and so which is probably a bonus for me. Her dad actually is a pretty well-renowned Division I basketball coach, and in fact, he's entering the Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame this year out in November, and so she understands the gamut of Division I coaching and all the late hours and the support necessary to a head coach. And so I'm really blessed to have somebody just in my back corner that can help push me to that next level as a coach.
Is she the better athlete?
She's the better everything.
That's how me and my wife are. She's better at everything.
Yeah, and I'll be showing her this tape right after this. So.
Well, Coach, we certainly are. Thank you for the time. We thank you for the time. We thank you for what you've done here at North Carolina Central before you've even gotten on the court. I think you've done a lot of things on the positive side, and we look forward to seeing the fruits of your labor out on the hard court in the next couple of weeks.
And, I'm looking forward to seeing you and all the other Eagle fans out there as well.
That'll do it. It's Nicki Holmes, the head volleyball coach here at North Carolina Central. We'll take a timeout, come right back, talk some football with head coach Jerry Mack of the NCCU football program as Eagle Talk rolls on after this on the NCCU Sports Network.
North Carolina Central University is one of our nation's most prized assets.
Our law school ranks 4th in the nation for clinical opportunities.
We offer cutting-edge technology in the biosciences.
We help students master their craft.
At North Carolina Central University, we are a first-choice premier institution.
The time has come for NCCU football, and you can reserve your seats for the 2014 season. The schedule boasts 6 home games, including the finale against those Aggies of North Carolina A&T. Nobody even close. 30, 20, give him 6.
You need to get ready because it's going down in O'Kelly Riddick Stadium.
Eagle fans, the 2014 season is approaching. Call 919-530-5170 or check out NCCUEaglePride.com. The Eagle Nation must rise up in 2014 and protect the nest. Call 919-530-5170 to reserve your seats. 2014 NCCU football. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Welcome back to the second segment of Eagle Talk as we switch gears and look at the gridiron as North Carolina Central's football program got practice underway last Friday. Joining us here on Eagle Talk is the head football coach here at North Carolina Central, Jerry Mack. Coach, practice underway on Friday. Whether the rain came or not, you got it in. And just talk about how things have gone from then to now.
So far, so good. We've managed to limit the injuries, Chris, and managed to get out on the gridiron a little bit and fly around. The guys have really been spirited in practice, and that's what we always stress is playing with some energy, playing with some passion. And so far, they've been doing that, and, we got it down in the book, so we're just looking forward to some more.
It's interesting. You talk about the passion, the spirit, enthusiasm. I think your staff all has that as well. And I think that breeds and that certainly trickles down to the players.
Yes, it's contagious. When we come out there dead and not lively, the guys are going to follow our lead. We always stress the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. So, as coaches, we want to take the lead and just show that energy, through drills and through different things throughout practice. We always talk about our program moving with a sense of urgency and having just a tempo about ourselves. And that's what we try to stress from top to bottom. And it starts from the top all the way down to whoever.
When you look at how things have gone through the first couple practices, obviously you schedule, and football coaches schedule practices so meticulously. Is there a plan? What's the purpose? Are you trying to just establish a system, establish a discipline with what you've done here early on in the preseason?
Throughout the spring, coming in, we had a lot of, obstacles during the spring football practice. Just guys learning how we practice. Some guys couldn't even finish a practice the way we practice as far as our tempo and our speed and, just our organization. We spent a lot of hours, a lot of time putting together practice scripts so we can make sure every minute is accounted for. Sometimes we have to cut things back because we're overtime, and sometimes we can add some things. But I think a lot of the time, from an organization standpoint, we have to all be on the same page. That means not only from our coaching staff, our managers, and our training staff.
When you look at getting the pads on, for you, I noticed the early portion of the practice the other day, you did a lot of fundamental things first. And I think that's very important because, you see a lot of times in the NFL and even college football around us, there's some some tackles being made that could get you hurt, and you stressed the fundamentals here early.
Right. I think that's one thing that a lot of people overlook sometimes as far as the fundamentals, coming to balance when you're trying to make tackles, being under control, as far as hand placement and things like that. Just simple things, looking balls all the way into the tuck, and ball security. Those little things is what usually get people beat. We always stress more football games are lost than won. And, that's the thing. We want to reduce those small penalties or small errors that make the difference between wins and losses.
Let's talk about the offense real quick. You're kind of the head honcho on that one as being the offensive coordinator here in your first season. What are you seeing thus far? It looks like both quarterbacks look pretty sharp in practice. Again, the efficiency rating of the guys as far as getting things done certainly is very high on that scale.
I think it's a compliment to not only our coaching staff, but also our players making a commitment in the summertime. We had a lot of players make a commitment to staying up here in the summertime. The NCAA put in a new rule where you can actually watch film with certain players in the summertime, and we took advantage of that. And now you can see the results in fall camp. Guys moving around a lot quicker. They understand where to go. Our quarterbacks are being smarter with the football, which is always a good thing.
Is there anybody to this point that has sort of stepped out to the forefront as far as just anyone in general that you've kind of been impressed with, or someone that you've taken a notice of?
I think it's no one individual, but our running back core as a whole has really been playing good football, after 5 days of camp or so. And also our linebacker core. You can just tell those guys are moving around a lot faster. They understand their read, their minds are a lot clearer, and they're just flying to the football.
Yeah, I know you got to be smile a little bit on the inside, knowing that you could have a healthy Andre Clark. I know you probably saw some film of him 2 years ago. Deontay Wright certainly. And then you got, the guys like Shaheed Swinson that's just dying to get out of the backfield. And that's just a number of them. But then I think you had some receivers that looked pretty good offensively. Offensive line also looked pretty sharp in the run drills. Right now it's all about honing that.
It is. It's all about, the small details every day, getting a little bit better fundamentally. We're never going to stop trying to get better fundamentally. We'll continue to stress playing with some passion and playing with some energy. And I think with each practice, we always talk about trying to get better. Pick one thing that you can get better on each day and trying to build off that.
Let's look at defense. Defense was sort of a weak spot sometimes last year. They certainly look to be flying around the football and being very physical up front as well.
Right. Coach Eastman's done a great job of coming in and simplifying some things. He's come in and he's put together a nice defensive package, which allow guys to not think as much and just react a little bit better. And anytime you got those guys flying around and reacting, it's always going to lead to turnovers and success on defense.
All right, so it's as you move on throughout the week, what are some things that you're going to try to build upon what you're doing right now?
I think the entire fall camp is about coming together as a family, understanding that we got to protect one another. We can't take cheap shots at one another. We got to stay up. We got to stay off our quarterback. But at the same time, it's also competitive. I want a good spirited competitive practice. We have some guys fighting for some playing time, fighting for one starters and fighting for two deep positions. And that's the key as we continue to camp throughout these next few practices.
This being your first head coaching job, and you've been around the game long enough to know, but what's it like for you now being the guy that blows the whistle and kind of controls everything?
Right. Well, I'm glad I'm still involved in the offense because I don't know what I do. It's kind of boring sometimes when you walk around. You don't have anywhere to go position-wise. But I get to dibble and dab in every position. I get to stay on the defense side of the football sometimes, sneak over to the offense, and have a role in special teams as well. So just having that flexibility to move around a little bit, that keeps me pretty busy.
Now, when you started the whole process for you, the dream to be a head coach, is this what it kind of feels like? Is this what you dreamt about?
It really does. I mean, it's a lot of work. I'm not going to lie about that, but it also is a lot of fun. Building a program, trying to, create some culture and some identity to our team.
Well, Coach, we're certainly excited about the 2014 football season, just about 2-3 weeks away. Wish you the best of luck, and we'll probably be talking to you in the next few weeks, getting ready as camp continues to progress.
Thank you, Chris.
That is head coach Jerry Mack. As we sign off this edition of Eagle Talk, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to watch this edition of the program. Special thanks out to Felicia Casey Hicks here in the TV studio for all she has done to get this show on our YouTube page as well. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week for another edition of Eagle Talk. So long, everybody.
North Carolina Central is going to be picked up and knocked for by Tim Daniel. Picked up now by C.J. Moore. C.J. Moore, no one even.
This has been an exclusive presentation of the NCCU Sports Network.